Hey there, Grateful Gang. Bear with me one second here. Hey, everybody, it's Lauren, the Gratitude Addict. Grateful Gang. Bear with me one second here. Hey, everybody, it's Lauren. I'm hearing a major echo on myself. Thank you for being here. I'm going to remove myself quickly. I'm hearing a major echo on myself. All right, I will be right back. Bear with me. Remove myself quickly. Okay, I am back. This is my genius. Okay, I have been out of practice on this for 3 months. I had the YouTube stream of this going. So that's why I was hearing it wasn't an echo at all. It was me listening to myself on delay. Hey, everybody, it's Lauren here, the Gratitude Addict. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. I have been off for the last 3 months, which I will talk about in a minute. Oh, thanks, Dad. Thank you for bearing with my early. Usually I have a tech issue or maybe like 17 during each episode. Not usually quite that early, but yes, I did have the YouTube stream on the computer, which is why I was hearing the echo. But welcome to my first broadcast of 2023, and my first one since I thought it was September, but it was actually October. I have been off because I've had a series of unfortunate events that happened. It started with pneumonia back in October, and it really threw me for a loop, and I was pretty sick with it. And then just some other things were happening. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just hold off until January, give myself a break, do some self-care, which is exactly what I did. And tonight I couldn't be happier than to welcome a former guest and my friend Lacy Mucklow back to the show. She's going to be talking to us about art and creativity, gratitude, mindfulness. She wears a lot of hats, but she's a board certified art therapist. And she's just wonderful. And whether if you think you're not artistic, you're going to want to watch this episode because I'm not artistic, or I didn't think I was artistic prior to her coming on the first time, which was all the way back. I was sharing with her before we came on the air. She was episode 55 the first time, which was August of 2021. This is episode 102. So it's been a while, but we've kept in touch, which makes it seem like it hasn't been that long. But anyway, Happy New Year to you all. I hope you all had very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, anything that you celebrated over the holidays, and a very happy New Year. I'm so happy to be back. I was sharing, I think in AOG on the Mighty Networks, which I'll talk about in a minute, that I'm actually a bit nervous tonight, which is strange because I don't normally get nervous for these things. And I have done 102 episodes and multiple other webinars and things like that. But I think I kind of lost my mojo. I lost my, my groove when it comes to doing broadcasts. Clearly, to not have YouTube playing your episode on the same screen as your broadcast, but that's okay. It's not a good episode unless there's some kind of a hot mess broadcast snafu. So if it is your first time watching, welcome. I come to you every Thursday at this time to bring you expert guests, wonderful topics, and all sorts of great tools, tips, and strategies to help us to gratefully live our chronic life. Everything that we talk about applies to those with chronic pain and illness. And I use pain in air quotes a lot because I believe that pain means a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean a physical condition. As a matter of fact, what the work that I do deals more with the emotional aspect of living with chronic pain. So this applies to a lot of things like trauma, depression, anxiety, as well as autoimmune and anything like that. So Lacy tonight, what she has to share will apply to everybody. And I mean everybody. She's so fantastic. And I don't want to take up too much time because I want to bring her on. But since it has been 3 months, I do have some things to share. First, if again, if it is your first time, we are an interactive broadcast. I don't want this to be my guest and I just talking at you. We want you to contribute. We want you to share your comments, your thoughts, ideas, personal experience with the topic, whatever you want. I try to get as many comments on the screen as I can, and I will show you. Hey, Julie Boyer is here. So that's an example. I can get comments right on the screen. If you are a member of my Facebook community, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, which I will show you. Let's see. There it is. Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain is the name of my Facebook group. We are just about to hit 11,000 members. If you are a member of that group, it is a private group. And I use a platform called StreamYard to broadcast because I stream to many different places at once. So, sorry, I have to do. So, if you're watching from inside the group and you want your comment to appear on screen with your name and photo, you need to grant StreamYard permission because we're a private group. They need permission. So you will see a screen like this, and you just hit this blue button that says, let StreamYard see your Facebook Live comments. That's only if you are watching from inside the Facebook version of AOG. If you are watching anywhere else, you don't need to worry about that because that's all public. So there's that. What else is there? I mentioned where I've been. The pneumonia really threw me for a loop, but I'm really happy. I feel healthy. I'm really glad to be back. On a somber note, I want to take this time to recognize a very important member to AOG. Next week, we're actually celebrating our 8-year anniversary. And we lost a member a couple weeks ago. Her name's Gail Turpin. And I just wanted to lift my heart and send light and Godspeed to Gail Turpin. She was a wonderful member. She found me on Instagram, and I do very little on Instagram. She was on Instagram and not Facebook years and years ago. She actually joined Facebook just to join the group. So she will be sorely missed, and I wanted to recognize her tonight. I mentioned the Facebook version of AOG. We now have 2 different Attitude of Gratitudes with Chronic Pain. So there's the Facebook one, which I mentioned, and we're celebrating 8 years next week, and just about we'll probably hit 11,000 members by next week. We also have a community now on a platform called Mighty Networks. If you live with chronic pain and illness, you may think that this is part of The Mighty, which is a online magazine that shares articles and things like that help people with chronic pain and illness. This has nothing to do with that. It's not even connected at all. Mighty Networks is just another platform. The reason why I started it is for a couple of reasons. One is I wanted another platform that is similar to our regular AOG, but that gives us a little bit more flexibility to talk about the specifics of our conditions, but mainly because I'm going to be offering a course. And this course that I've been promoting for months is one of the things that actually took a back seat and was put on hold because of the pneumonia. So where it was supposed to start January 1st, I'm looking at a start date of February 1st. So I will definitely be publishing more information about that. You don't have to do the course to be a part of Mighty Networks. Mighty Networks is free. The course will be $10 a month, and it's going to be all sorts of things. I don't want to take up too much time to get into the nitty-gritty of what it's going to be. But if you like AOG on Facebook and you're looking for more, it's going to be an interactive course. And it is based on a book that I wrote called Chronically Grateful, a year-long interactive journey toward joy and gratitude for those living with chronic pain and illness. It is not available and won't be available unless you register for this course. You cannot register yet, though, so I will keep you all posted. It's going to be a year-long interactive journey where we work through these things together. I'll have special guests. I wanted to talk to Lacy about that, and I forgot that we'll talk afterwards, Lacy. Special chats that aren't available, but in the Facebook group. It's, if you're looking for more, you're really going to love this. I'm proud of the book. And I was trying to think of how to best utilize it. And I think, gratitude journals are great. Gratitude is great. I think doing it together, because I believe in gratitude and connection being really the secret sauce to finding joy and purpose in our lives. I think it's a perfect marriage. So that's going to be the course. And I promise I will have more information ASAP, and I will let you guys know. But you did not miss anything. We're looking to start in February. And I think that's it. If you like my shirt, this is the newest shirt from our store. My love language is gratitude. That's at the Bonfire store. You can find the information about that in the show notes. So, and I mentioned next week. So next week, rather than a guest, I'm going to be the guest. We're going to have our 8th birthday celebration of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. I will cry, but we will talk about, where we came from, where we're going, and, really just kind of a celebration of all that AOG has brought to our lives. So I hope you tune in, same time, same place, for that birthday celebration. So without further ado, I want to bring on Lacy Mucklow, who I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for bearing with me as I got through all of that, Lacy.
No problem.
And thank you for being here again.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me back.
There's nobody I would rather have back on the show, especially on a day where I'm a bit nervous than you. We've become friends, haven't we?
Definitely. Yeah, we communicate pretty regularly now.
We do. For those of you that missed her first time on the show, was, I already mentioned, back in August 2021. She's the author of many books. She's a New York Times bestselling author. This is the book that I had and I bought. I think it said back in 2017. I purchased it and I kind of lost it, and then I found it again, and I'm like, oh, how have I not contacted this person? So if it's your first time watching, my big joke is I stalk my guests, and I do. I stalk them. I found her. I Googled her. I found her. I reached out to her, and she's a board certified art therapist, among many things. She's now, since the last time she was on, you are now going for your doctorate, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
You never know where life will take you. So
you never know where life will take you.
Yeah.
So it really is such a pleasure to have you back on the show. I want to, before I let the comments get away from us, let's just get to some of them. Jill Cook watching and grateful. Hey, Jill. Glad you are here. Robin's here. Hey, Robin. Thanks for being here. Linda's here. Hey, Linda. Glad you're back and feeling better. Thank you, Julie. Oh, Lorraine Miller's here. Hey, Lorraine. Thanks for being here. Brenda's here. Hey, Brenda. Thank you for being here. Facebook, so exciting. This is an example. So Facebook users, how you will come up if you're watching from inside AOG and you're not signing in. It's not the biggest. If you don't care about your name being on there, no big deal. But we are, I'm glad I brought this up actually, because Lacy has kindly agreed to give away 2 digital downloads. She has, among many other things, she has 2 mindfulness guided mindfulness guided, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, guided imagery albums, and we're going to share some of it tonight. I've posted them as our daily breath breaks the past couple of days. She's very, very gifted at it. So she's going to give away 2 digital downloads to 2 lucky winners tonight. All you have to do to win is in the comments at some point during the broadcast. Oop, hang on, let me get rid of this. See, I'm really just out of practice here. hang on, get rid of comment. Okay. All right. Type hashtag gratitude. Make sure you spell gratitude right, which sounds silly. Of course, you're going to spell gratitude right, but sometimes when you're typing fast, you don't. And so the program we use, you have to type hashtag gratitude at any time during the broadcast. And at the end, we will draw the names of 2 winners. So thank you all for being here who are watching live. And for those of you that are watching the recording, thank you for being here. Oh, we've already got people entering. That's great. So Lacy, I don't even know where to begin. I want to assume, and I told you this before we went live, that I didn't, normally I am very good at I research and I'm very, very prepared for episodes. And while I'm prepared, I made sure I did not watch back our last episode because I didn't want to assume that everybody has watched it. It was a long time ago. And I didn't want to be swayed and have to think of brand new material. I know we will come up with new things, but if people out there are like me, my instinct when I first met you was, while I know art is healing, I'm not artistic.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe we can start with that. What would be your answer for those that say I'm just not artistic? I can't do art. I can't even draw a stick figure. I hear that all the time. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I hear that too. Can't draw a stick figure, can't draw a straight line.
Yeah.
Well, I come from the art therapy perspective, which is different than what a lot of people are familiar with in regards to, say, art education or art technique and learning about art from a mastery point of view or performance point of view. And I think that's where a lot of people have that hesitation, because whenever it's been introduced in their lives, there's usually something connected with it as far as being critiqued or being graded or being judged or something, even if it's from their own selves. People tend to be self-critical. And the thing about art therapy that I love is that it's all about self-expression and creating something visual for yourself, and finding the meaning that whatever you make has for you. So making art for art's sake, making art for yourself and not for anyone else. I think that really changes the game when your perspective shifts a little bit. And I know it can take some time because I've worked with adults who have not touched art for 20, 30 years, are afraid to try it. And then once they delve into it and kind of dip their toe in, sometimes like the dam bursts. And especially when they find a material that really intrigues them or something they've never tried, or they find it to be successful, then, nothing holds them back. So I know watercolor pencils has been a really popular medium that people have discovered that they never knew about, that felt very comfortable for people, but gave them a lot of a wide range of expression. And so
you turned me on to those, and also the crayon type things. What are those called?
like the oil pastels.
Oil pastels. You turned me on to that. You turned me on to a lot of things. Watercolor for me was great, and I've got some. When I have a guest, you can't really see them, but here, I'll take one off my wall. For me, it's very forgiving. Watercolor's forgiving. I like to mix color, and I can write gratitude very nicely. That I can do. But I can mix color. It's very forgiving. I don't have to worry about, it being perfect. So for me, I think that was what spoke to me since you and I last talked.
Yeah. And having that shift of mind where it doesn't have to be perfect or it doesn't have to meet a certain standard makes all the difference. And, creativity comes in a lot of forms. Some people like to use paint. Some people like to draw. Some people use collage. Some people find collage a good place to start because they don't have to start with drawing anything. They can just find images that speak to them, arrange them in a certain composition or a certain way, And, that's a way they express themselves. So there's a lot of different ways to be artistic, and it's just using visual means to express yourself. Because for a lot of people, especially in therapy, and I know all of you are not doing this as therapy, but there's a lot of things that people cannot really put into words, or they have a really hard time expressing through words or verbal means. And the art really can capture that in a whole different way. When you're trying to describe an emotion, sometimes it can be really difficult, but you can paint what it feels like, or use colors that, you can use icky green, bile yellow, something like that. And that's the thing I love about art therapy, is you can make ugly art. Actually, ugly art is encouraged, because we call it ugly art, but it's what people wouldn't consider attractive or something they want to look at, but it really captures how they're feeling that day, or what an experience was like for them. So, it can be abstract. It doesn't even have to look like anything. And just using the color, using shapes, using the materials to express what's going on the inside can make a big difference. One of the things I've used fairly recently with some clients is what I call create, destroy, recreate, where they create a piece of art and then they destroy it somehow, rip it up, crumple it up, tear it up, whatever they want to do, and then use the remainder or the pieces and turn it into a new piece of art. So
very cool. I would imagine that's pretty therapeutic to do ugly art, get out maybe anger and anxiety. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scribbles. I mean, a lot of times the art can be more kinesthetic in nature. You're getting it out. Well, we call it sublimation, but being cathartic, putting it out, taking it from here and putting it into the art. So, using scribbles, using dark colors, using pressure, all of those kinds of things help you release whatever is going on into your art. And then you don't have to carry it on the inside anymore. It's in the art, and then you can leave it in the art. You can forget about it. You can destroy the art and not even carry it around with you anymore, have any record of it. And sometimes that's really helpful for people.
It's funny you bring that up, because maybe about an hour ago in AOG on Facebook, I posted a short video of Frida Kahlo about her life. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. You've probably seen it many times, but
yeah,
she's got some great quotes. And for those of you that don't know, she was
Mexican.
Wonderful Mexican artist. And one of her quotes was that she paints what she feels. In fact, I found a couple quotes of hers, but actually, before I get to the quote, she was very disabled. And I just heard recently that there's now thought that one of the things she had was fibromyalgia, which I thought was very interesting. But I didn't do your bio justice, because you have quite a background, and one of the many things that you do is you work with soldiers, right, who returned from combat, and people that have dealt with severe PTSD. So you really know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them have never heard of art therapy or tried art therapy. And I think most of them are pretty surprised. And many of them have told me that if it hadn't been like a mandatory part of the program that I work in, that if it had been like an elective kind of a group, that they would have skipped it.
Yes.
And they have this, idea of what they thought it was going to be. And then when they finally came into the group, they realized, wow, this is not even remotely close to what I thought it was going to be. Right. So it's really nice when they have those epiphanies.
Yeah.
Into new experiences. And then it becomes their favorite part of the whole program that they went through.
I'm almost positive I would have shared this the last time we were on. But so when I went to rehab 10 years ago, it was a chronic pain program. But I got there by way of a severe alcohol problem. So don't mistake that I was just there for the pain. I didn't go flying in there on the wings of victory. That's for sure. But they did have us do art therapy. I think it was twice during my 30-day stay. And
Mm.
I was the same. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. They had pet therapy on Tuesdays. Then I could pet dogs, and that was cute. But art therapy I thought was dumb. But what they
Mhm.
had, I wish I had thought to bring up a picture. But they had these blank masks, face
Mhm.
masks.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've seen them, and
Yep, I have some.
yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
And they had us kind of use all sorts of mediums, magazine clippings and
Mhm.
decoupage and paint and whatever we needed to put on the mask what we were feeling. And then they had us do it again at the end of our stay. And
Mm.
it was therapeutic. It really
Mhm.
was therapeutic. And I would have blown it off. I really would have.
Mhm.
But I didn't have a choice. So sometimes I think we're so quick to discount something without recognizing the importance of it. And mindfulness is one of those I know you and I talked about earlier, which we will
Mhm.
get to. Um, but yeah, I mean, how when you're dealing with people with severe trauma, and I would argue that living with chronic pain and illness is you know trauma as well. How
Mhm.
do you even start approaching it with them? I'm sure that's a very loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where they're willing to start. Because sometimes I don't get to work with them for very long, so I don't want to open up a whole lot. Um, but one gal I worked with, she worked on a multi-session. I continued with her for outpatient individual, and she did a multi-session collage that processed her trauma in
Wow.
many different aspects. And she made it with 3D pieces of string and stickers and collage, and brought in some of her own things from home. And, I don't know, she worked on it for 8 or 10 sessions, I think, a long time. But I think it really helped her process how it made her feel. She's going through court proceedings or planning for a trial and things like that. So I think it really helped. And also looking for the future, like what her future was going to look like after everything. And I think it really helped her work through that. But it really differs depending on the person and what works for them. I think the last time I mentioned about altered books, and that is something that has been really popular lately, where
Altered books, is that what you said?
altered books, yeah, where you take an existing book, old book usually,
Oh,
hardback
right.
is best, yeah. Um, Getting an old one from the library or something from the giveaways or the thrift store or something like that are really good. Maybe not nice antique ones, but just the beat up ones that nobody might
Yeah.
read or just want to throw out. Um, but using that kind of like a sketchbook, instead of having blank pages, you have things on the page that you can work with. You can do blackout poetry. There might be illustrations in the book to work with, but people, paint in it or a collage in it. And, I've had some that have done really creative things in it using, makeup as an art medium, to explore their appearance and, what people expect versus what they feel comfortable with.
Hmm.
Or I'm trying to think. She used all kinds of different things. One person in particular I'm thinking of, like she took some of the labels from her medicine bottles and put them on one of the page, you know,
What
to
a great idea, gang. What a
mhm,
great idea. That's
so I mean, just
really great.
processing all kinds of things, trying a lot of different media. She is very experimental more than most people, but sometimes she would use ash from a candle or something and spread it on the page and explore that and burn like the edge of the page that she used the ash on, and just all kinds of different things. So really the sky's the limit, but sometimes having an existing book might make it easier to start with or to work with. And some people make it a theme. Some people use it as an art journal in general. If there's chapters in the book, sometimes they want to use a different chapter for a different emotion, to process different feelings or express different feelings. So there's a lot of different ways to use altered books. So that could be like a long-term project that people can use to process through trauma.
That's a great idea.
Mm.
You know, for those of you that don't have that creative, flair that comes naturally, I mean, coloring, which was another thing that I used to blow off. And this is just one of how many of these do you have? You've got many.
Yeah, I have six of the coloring books.
Whole series.
Mhm.
In fact, I want to show this particular one is out of print. It's actually, I looked on Amazon before we came on, and you can get it for $100. But have no fear. Let me show you. There's a different version, which I lost because I had to go off the air because I was a maniac. Be Grateful in Color is the new version, and I'm going to right now put the link to purchase this in the comments. It's $7, and there's Be Grateful, and it's a whole series of Be Grateful, Be Calm in Color. You've got it for so many different things. They're really just wonderful books, and it's a New York Times, best-selling series. You're pretty amazing.
It surprised all of us.
But you talk in the beginning of the book about, I have it highlighted here. One of the great things about coloring is that it is highly successful for everyone, even if you lack artistic instruction or experience. And then having guidelines eases performance anxiety, and being able to add your own colors helps make the experience more personal. I like that a lot because, some like that patient you were just talking about, she clearly had some kind of a creative flair already, but then there's some of us that just don't have that maybe we literally need a picture to color in, and that's where your books really do a good thing for us.
Yeah, but I think it can maybe generate creativity once people kind of, delve into it a little bit. Because even when you're coloring a picture, I've had people, I have a group for people to post pictures that they've colored from my series of books. And when you see the same template colored by 3 or 4 different people, none are the same. And they almost don't even look like the same picture, but it's literally the same template across the board. So I think it really shows how people's individuality and preferences and really their creativity come out.
And I think for me, I started with, coloring in the lines. And then when you turned me on to those watercolor pencils, my confidence got up a little bit. And I started, using a little bit of water and having the colors go outside the lines. And it looked really cool. It was a very freeing feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can do it however you want. The lines are there, but you can do whatever you want with it. And trying different materials can be really fun. Watercolor pencils, colored pencils. There's also like gel pens. You can use glittery stuff. You can highlight things. There's so many ways you can go about it and have a lot of fun with it and just try things out. And if you don't like it, oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I always say, we quote Bob Ross a lot, about happy little accidents and things like that. But really, a lot of times things that you may do that don't go the way you thought might be able to be turned into something else. It, shows a lot of adaptability and ways that we can learn how to, adjust when things don't quite go our way. Yeah.
Totally my message, right? Life ebbs and flows and plot twists galore. And in order to, live peacefully and with serenity, it really helps if we're willing to adapt and just go with the flow. We have to talk about flow too, but and not saying, oh, this is wrong, because there is no wrong, is there?
No, there's not. And actually what I tell people a lot is whenever you make what we call a mistake or something doesn't go the way you expect, you still learn something from it. It lets you know, okay, well, that doesn't work. So now I know not to do that. So you still gain something from it, and it's not a bad thing. You're just gaining information. So,
or sometimes there's pleasant surprises where you didn't plan it, and there's a pleasant surprise. Like, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. And sometimes, I've had some of my best successes when I didn't think about it too hard.
Overthinking for sure. Robin Davis says, what a fabulous gift you are able to give people through your therapy methods. Totally agree. And we haven't even gotten to the guided meditation part, which the hour's already going too quickly. Jill Cook says, we did this with, she was a teacher with AP
Oh,
students,
yeah.
black out
Mhm.
poems and cutouts to state the themes. What a great idea.
Mhm.
And use old magazines to write today's headlines for journalism class.
Mhm.
Magazines are also awesome for vision boards and for clearing the air boards and for touchy subjects list with a partner, friend, etc.
Mhm.
Robin says, I wrote a letter, burnt the letter, and mixed the ashes into the paint
Mhm.
on a vision board type project. It was very powerful. What a great idea. I know the burning of the letter, I know the writing of the letter, but incorporating that into artwork, Robin, what a fabulous idea. That must have been incredibly powerful and healing.
Mhm.
Great idea. And Julie says that's a creative idea with the book. If you guys want to win her downloads, digital downloads, make sure you write hashtag gratitude in the comments and make sure you're signed in. I have one coloring book with seasonal mandalas. We wanted to talk about that. And another specific to EMDR. Why not one more? Right? Exactly. Why not one
Never
more?
have too many.
So I know we talked about these last time, mandalas.
Mhm.
And I know you have your journal, which is much more creative. I made this after talking to you last time, but can you tell us what exactly it is and why they're so healing and powerful?
Yeah, mandalas have been around for years and years and over many cultures. And there's something about the circle that is really different than any other shape. It's symmetrical no matter which way you turn it. There's nothing sharp about it. There's not corners or straight lines or anything like that. And there's something just kind of pleasing about the whole shape. And people use mandalas as a kind of visual container for things. Um, and just kind of as a holding space. I do mandala groups pretty often with my clients or just individually as well. I have a mandala meditation on my second album, so maybe
Mm-hmm.
if you need someplace to start, you can listen to
Two, I
that.
think, right? One with music, one without, or
Well,
something.
yeah, they both have music, but one's by my usual musicians, and then one's a special extra track by a separate musician. So
Okay.
it's like two different takes on the
Oh,
same.
right.
So you
Yes.
can kind of pick which one you like better,
Yeah.
or maybe you like both. Um, and they've done some research with mandalas actually, and they're showing that either coloring mandalas or creating your own, which is what I tend to do more often with my clients, is open-ended mandalas. It has shown to reduce anxiety and stress. It's shown to reduce pain levels, in physical pain levels in people while they're working on them. It's also shown to increase focus and concentration in people. So there's a lot of good reasons to work with mandalas because they can help, kind of just take things down a notch and help you express whatever's going on. And having that circular focus helps you. It's a very mindful way of doing art. It's also helpful for people who may not like a completely blank page to start with. Having a circle at least gives you a little bit of something to start with and work with.
That's what I was trying to think of before the broadcast, when you
Okay.
were talking about the benefits of mandalas. Yeah, it's less intimidating, isn't it, to
Yeah.
have it contained? Yeah.
Yeah. And some people will work outside of the mandala or have a background to it. It's kind of their choice. But really, whatever works for them. Some people, choose to break out of the mandala border and go out into the outer areas. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But I did bring my mandala journal. This is my second one that I've been working in. And this is a handmade one, hand bound by one of my interns as
Oh,
a
really?
farewell gift when she
You
left.
have wonderful interns. I see you on
I do have
Facebook.
wonderful interns.
They must love you because it's always a sorry goodbye when you have to say goodbye to them.
I know. And a lot of them, I get to supervise them for their licenses and stuff. So we try to stay in touch as long as we can. So, yeah, it's great having the interns. So anyway, she made this for me. I love it because she put a little pocket in the front and she made a little mandala
Oh,
template for me.
oh, neat.
So it's ready to go. And so, just kind of doodle. This
So
is a
that's with Zentangles, right?
Zentangle, yeah. which is another mindful way of drawing that we could talk about.
Yes.
That anybody can do, honestly. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that looks so complicated. Anybody can do it. It's made for anyone from 5 to 105 to be able to do. So it's actually a lot easier than it looks. It just looks complicated when you see the final product, but it's just patterns you learn that have anywhere from about 3 to 5 steps to create them. And then you decide how you want to apply them.
We've done, I think twice we've done Zentangle challenges in our journaling club. And it does look complicated only because it's, you know, it's on a larger scale, but it's just repeating the same thing. And it is so mindful. It really is
It
just
is.
so mindful to repeat that. And what a great idea to incorporate that into a mandala.
Yeah, actually, okay. The creators were a calligrapher and a former Buddhist monk, and so they knew all about the flow state when you're talking about flow. So the husband, who was the former monk, he noticed when his wife was working on her calligraphy work and font work and artistic work that she was almost in a meditative state, like when he would meditate. And he's like, there must be something to this. So anyway, they kind of realized that it was really the same kind of thing, just a different way of getting there. And that's when they came up with these patterns for people to draw, where once you learn how to draw them and they're second nature to you, when you're working on them, then you get in the flow state. And that's a very meditative state to be in.
Yeah. Can you explain the flow state a little bit more? What that
Yeah,
is,
I
what
can
it
try.
means?
If you guys have ever done anything and some people call it being in the zone, that's when you're in flow state. So it could be when you're doing art. It could be when you're gardening. It could be when you're doing any kind of creative thing, or even playing sports. But it's when your attention is solely in the present and you're only focusing on what you're doing in the moment right then. And when you're in flow state, it's when time kind of seems to stand still and you end up doing something, say, for 3 hours, and you only felt like you're doing it for 30 minutes. So if that happens, then you know you've been in flow state. And so art is one way of achieving flow state, and doing mandalas or doing Zentangle or some things like that are ways of kind of generating flow state and putting yourself kind of in the zone and being in the moment.
And it's helpful, speaking from somebody with chronic pain and illness, if you're in pain all the time, sometimes it may be a brief period of time, it may be just a minute, maybe 30 seconds, but you do forget about that pain. And so that's what being in the flow state is. For those of you that have been in the group for a long time or are a member of Dr. Bruce Singer's group, we also call it black duck moments. But that's what I think of as the flow state, is moments where you are in the zone, like you said. And if we can find things to be passionate about and get in that flow state, gosh, it sure would be great to forget about our pain, even if the moments are brief.
Yeah, there was a study that they did when I was mentioning about mandala studies. One was done with pediatric patients when they're getting their blood draws. I think they were getting their blood drawn quite frequently, and it was getting to be tiresome and annoying and painful, and getting your blood drawn. Most people don't like needles anyway, and so they were having the kids draw mandalas while they were getting their blood drawn, and they noticed that their pain levels had dropped significantly. Like that, sometimes they didn't even feel it.
Wow, that's amazing. Lisa says, I started doing Zentangle after watching you on the last broadcast. I love it. That's so great. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And actually, the creators of Zentangle, when you're talking about mandalas, the traditional Zentangles are done on scorecards. But I don't know how long ago, but fairly recently, they started introducing round cards that they call Zendalas.
Oh, what a great idea. I love that.
Even they're understanding the importance of mandala shapes and mandala spaces for art making and mindfulness.
Great. What else is in that journal of yours?
Oh, let's see. I tried different things. Like this is kind of a combination of it's like
that's pretty.
Watercolors and colored pencils.
So you can really do anything in the circle.
I think this is just colored pencils.
Oh gosh, is that beautiful?
It's just stylized lotus flower, really.
Wow.
that you can just repeat ad nauseum. And I think I just picked a color palette and just kept using it
Beautiful.
repetitively. I think that's just colored pencils.
That's pretty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is one I did. This is, I don't know if you can tell in the lighting. It's metallic marker.
Oh no, I can't tell, but it's
Okay.
beautiful.
But I did that actually. Speaking of chronic pain, a little bit. I had thyroid cancer about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago now, and I did this mandala after treatment was finished. And it's the color, because the thyroid ribbon is 3 colors. It's purple, teal, and pink. And I did a butterfly in the background, which is the what do you call it, symbol for the thyroid. So just kind of processing, going through that. So that's, I guess, a good example of using something you're going through and working on it through your art.
Beautiful. I love how you really, I was going to say think outside the box, and it seemed like some kind of weird anti-pun type thing, but think outside the circle. But I mean, just I'll show my little thing here. As you can see, I just mixed colors with watercolor, and then I just added in, in the middle what I'm grateful for, and then added stuff around. But you can really put anything in the circle. I love the
Absolutely.
Zentangle idea.
Yeah.
I love your your photo of the sun with the the grass and all of that. That's beautiful too.
And speaking of watercolor, this is just a
Oh wow.
watercolor. It's watercolor and the metallic markers, trying to center it here. It's just,
I'm glad I showed mine first.
it's just the splotchy watercolor in the background. I think I used rock salt, which is another fun thing you can use on the
Okay.
watercolor when it dries, and then it
Yep.
makes it all splotchy. And then I just did some patterns with the metallic markers after it dried on top of it. So, you can do anything really. Well, this is really just splotchy watercolor.
Yeah, my splotchy doesn't look that nice.
Just play with it. Keep playing with it. And actually, another new thing since we last talked is I've started to do some groups with cancer patients, and I've always included a mandala group in every cycle, and a lot of them get quite a bit out of those as well.
Really?
And you wouldn't imagine what all they use it to process, and it's really amazing. And it's actually been so popular or well received that for this next cycle that I'm doing here in the spring, I'm going to do a patient group that's focused only on mandalas.
Really?
So instead of just rotating through other topics or other themes that we can use, I'm just going to do a mandala only group where, since it's open-ended, it's like whatever you got this week, you come in and you can use the mandala to process whatever it is going on for you right now.
What a great idea. I've got to think that it's similar in a way to journaling, isn't it? Some people get out their feelings and frustrations or whatever through journaling, but that's not for everybody.
Yeah. Not everybody's a writer, but it might be easier. And so people who do mandala journaling, sometimes they just do, say, 15 minutes a day. And they may do a time limit, or they might set aside a time of day that works really well for them. Like maybe they would like to do it when they wake up to kind of get things started, or they might want to do it before they go to bed to wind down, to sleep better, or they might want to do it when they get home from work to shake off the traffic and the commute or something. So maybe you might not have a time limit. You just want to do it at a certain time of day, or you may just want to say, I'm going to do something for 15 minutes and see what happens, and either decide to call it a day on the mandala for whatever 15 minutes you manage to get done, and then move on to a new one the next day, or do 15 minutes on the same mandala the next day if you feel like you want to add more to it.
It's a good idea. And with mandalas, it, like you said, it is contained, so it's easy to complete, at least sections of it, or a full one, within your time frame, depending on what you do.
Absolutely. And like, as you see, my journal isn't all that big. I don't know what it is, like 5x5 or something.
Yeah, that's a nice
6x6.
size. I love that one. That's so pretty.
Yeah, it's just handmade with cardboard and paper.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of square sketchbooks out there nowadays that you might find that are 4 to 6 inches square, and they hold, just, you could make a cardboard template like what I have in there, or you can use a lid, from some leftover kitchen thing to keep with you. and trace your circle and do whatever you do. But sometimes doing art journaling in that way is a little bit easier or better for people than handwriting.
Right.
But it can be also helpful to do a little bit. I like people to reflect on their art a little bit, because sometimes that's where the insight comes.
Okay.
When they really start looking at, like, okay, what does this mean? What does it speak to me? What do these colors mean, if they mean anything, or what is here that I'm not even sure about? And that's when you can get a lot of the value and insight from the art that you make, because sometimes you don't know what it means until later, and that's okay. But doing a little reflection writing, or writing some associations you have with it, especially with mandalas, on the back I'll usually write a few words, like what I had in mind while I was doing it, or are there some words or descriptors or some things like that that come to mind when I look at it. And it gives me more information about the art that I was doing.
What a good idea. I know we talked about the flow state, but what are some of the overall, like, emotional and mental health benefits to being creative? I know we talked before the broadcast, there's so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
What is art? It can mean, it doesn't have to be paints or crayons or whatever.
Yeah.
Getting our creative flow on can
Mm-hmm.
look like a lot of things, but
Yeah.
I know there's many studies. What
Mm-hmm.
kind of health benefits are people to expect, and why should they get creative in their life?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have two sides of ourselves. We have creative side, we have analytical side. And I know that's a spectrum for people. Some people really lean on the analytical side more, and some lean a lot more on the creative side. But I think it's really good to give ourselves an outlet, because a lot of times we think, oh, well, I can handle it, or I've got it under control, or I can think it through, which might be okay to some extent. But I think we need something that is, I guess you could call it like a physical kind of outlet, or some way to express things so that we don't hold everything inside all the time. And, a lot of times too, the creativity, it's for ourselves, but a lot of times we do share it with other people, or we do it with other people, like, say, if you're into culinary arts, a lot of times people like to make food for other people and share that. Um, with art, a lot of times people like to do art together. Um, I mean, even if you look at like the paint and sip kind of things, where people are all painting the same painting together, even if they're
Oh,
not
yeah,
great
yeah.
at it. But there's that community aspect sometimes that can be
Right.
a big part of it as well. Um, but I think a lot of it, as far as being psychologically and mentally, emotionally healthy, is to find whatever way it is for you to give yourself an appropriate outlet, so that when you have things that are stressful, things that make you anxious, things that it's really hard to express feeling sad or hurt or upset or anger about, you can put it into that modality, and you don't have to hold on to it anymore.
And I like what you said of, sometimes you do it and you don't even realize you're feeling those things until afterwards, and
Mm-hmm.
take a step back and be like, "Oh, okay." And obviously there's a lot to it. If
Mm-hmm.
there's art, art therapy is a thing. You're going for your PhD, so it's studied, and it's very real. But it
Mm-hmm.
might be something that people overlook, like you said, and so like the next thing we're going to talk about that you also do, the mindfulness. Well, art is mindful also, but you know the breath breaks that I post every day, and I posted one of yours yesterday and one of yours today. You do not so much, you know I guess it's meditative, but I want
Mm-hmm.
to I want to share with you guys, if you haven't seen um, one of Lacy's, or listened to one of Lacy's um, recordings. She's got Lavender Dreams and Lavender Destinations, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I have to find it again because I lost the screen because I was a maniac and I had to do it. All right. I want to play you guys a couple minutes because her voice is so soothing, and all you have to do is just devote a couple minutes and let her guide you. And I want to show you what it's like. This one's the one I posted yesterday.
As you make yourself comfortable, begin to focus inward and take note of your breathing. Take a couple of deep breaths and exhale fully after each one. As your breaths become slower, start to clear your mind of any thoughts or distractions. Use this time now to give your mind, body, and emotions a break from the outside world. As you let your mind clear, begin to imagine a place that can be your inner sanctuary. A safe, peaceful place where you can retreat in the recesses of your mind when you need a break from stress or anxiety.
I wish I could play more. We're running low on time, but that is what you can expect. And she just guides you, and all you have to do is listen and intentionally breathe. And she's got, I mean, some of her exercises are just, the guiding ones in a hot air balloon, I think, right? Ones under the sea. I mean, they're just beautiful, and not what you might expect from other breath breaks that I post that, tell you when to breathe and all of that stuff. This is really just letting her guide you, and you are really so gifted with your words and allowing us to become fully present without even realizing it. Um, and another mindfulness exercise, and then you've got beautiful music in the background to help us. So that is what you're giving away tonight is 2 digital downloads of your albums. But how did you get involved in that?
That's a funny story. I was doing relaxation for a long time as like a whole group with teenagers, and I think for some of them it was hard to do a whole group for the extended period of time, and I kind of started shifting it into being more of a segue between our process group and the art therapy group, because a lot of times they would talk about some really difficult things in process group, and having them sit and kind of reset with a relaxation meditation before we started art therapy, it really kind of helped them like recalibrate for the next group. And I think a lot of them found it helpful. So I started doing that for a long time. I was reading other people's scripts. I was using, other people's music. And I was doing this on an inpatient group as well. And there was, I remember they were trying to give them some quiet time before I would do my group. And this one kid came in, he's like, I can't take a nap. I don't sleep. I don't sleep at night. I just can't sleep. And I was like, that must be really hard. And he's like, it is, but I'm kind of used to it, but I just can't sleep. I just, I have insomnia. I can't ever get to sleep more than 1 or 2 hours at a time ever. So I'm like, okay. So when I told him we were going to do some relaxation, he's like, okay, fine. And it was only a very short script, under 5 minutes, I think. And he nodded off and knocked out pretty hard. And we're talking just a few minutes after he just told me he never sleeps.
Aww.
And I was like, wow, well, then he really needed it. But whatever it was that I read seemed to work. And I had to wake him up to be able to do the art for the group. And he was totally shocked when he realized he had fallen asleep after he just told me he never could. And I was like, wow, I'm like, I really wish I could send them home with something, because once they're out of the inpatient or the program or wherever I see them, they don't have always the resources to use. So that was what kind of actually started the whole idea for me to make something original. Because I'd read a lot of other people's scripts. There were things I had in mind. Sometimes I would even modify them myself, to tweak it to something that I preferred or like the wording better or whatever the case may be. And so I thought, well, I've been doing this for like 10 years at least, so maybe I can kind of write some things I would like to hear or would like to share. And so I just kind of threw the idea out there on Facebook, the world of networking and friends, and asked if anybody, well, first of all, if they thought that would even be a viable idea. And then if so, I couldn't do it all by myself. I would need some help. And I had so many people encourage me and say, yes, you should do it. And I had a lot of people offer to help. So I just started writing scripts based on the groups I was doing and the things that I think were popular for a lot of people, like listening to the beach or listening to rain or things like that, and turned them into the first album. And that way I could send it home with the patients if they got something out of it. It was effective for them. It was really like a treatment resource, really, that I made it for, so they could have something to take with them after the program and continue to use it if it really helped them. So that's how it really came about.
They're really just amazing. I know I've told you many times, but your cadence, your voice is very soothing. I know I've told you I'm very picky about voice. There could be great meditation out there, but if the voice doesn't do it for me, and I know it's very subjective, it may do it for
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't post it, but you somehow are you're so gifted at taking us on a journey. And I know you when I post them, you've got some fans out there of what it is that you offer. It's different, and I like to post different things for Breath Brace because we all respond to different things.
Sure.
So make sure we're actually at the hour, but I still have three more things I want to talk about. So get in #gratitude is all you need to put in the comments, and you can win. Lacy's been so gracious, and she's going to give away 2 digital downloads. 2 final things. Well, one I probably don't have to share, but it's kind of cute. So Lacy and I have mentioned that we've become friends over the years. I actually asked her if she would help me. She not only provided an endorsement for my book, the 52-week intention journal. So if you go on the Amazon page, she's one of the expert endorsers, and I thank you for that. But one of the weeks I also talk about the art of creativity, and I was asking for your help with that. You provided a lovely quote for that, which I didn't even tell you I was doing this. I made it into a quote. So the quote is, doing something creative that you enjoy, no matter what your skill level, is something that provides a positive mindset and can be helpful both as a regular self-care practice as well as a way of self-soothing when you've had a particularly rough day. So thank you for that. You also helped me find quotes for other aspects of the book. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah.
And you are in the company. The other quotes I wanted to show are Frida Kahlo's. So you are in the company of Frida. First one was, I noticed these from the video I shared in the group. Don't build a wall around your suffering. It may devour you from the inside. This one spoke to me because, as I mentioned ad nauseum, that we need to be able to share, and gratitude and connection, I believe, really are just, they're so important to emotional healing for those of us with chronic pain and illness. So don't build a wall around your suffering. Join a community, if you're not a member of our communities, join them, because I think you'll find something that appeals to you. So there was that one. See, I went down the rabbit hole. The reason why I brought up the fact that we were friends is I asked Lacy, I told her that I wanted to share one of her, a clip of one of her guided, what's the word? Guided imageries tonight. And I asked her if she had any favorites. And she said, well, maybe, now I'm forgetting the name, maybe
Inner Sanctuary.
Inner Sanctuary. I had already pre-scheduled Inner Sanctuary to be today's breath break. She had no idea. And when she sent it to me, it was like 20 minutes before it was going to be posted. So I was telling her, we seem to always have these things that we are in synchronicity in some way. And I'm like, I feel like this happens to us a lot. And I said, gosh, I wish I could share like examples of where this has happened to us in the past. And then you got quiet for a little bit, and then you came back at me with this. You did a search, and this is our private message thread in Messenger, and you can see that where the word synchronized, synchronicity appears throughout. This goes back to August of 2021. The what happened isn't even important, just the fact that we somehow have this happened. And I'm so grateful to be your friend, and that we have these things that happen with us. And I think that is it. I had other things I wanted to talk to you about. I could talk to you for another 3 hours. Let me just make sure we're not missing any important things from our members. Melissa, hi Melissa. She said, I was previously a crisis counselor and the use of art is so powerful. Thanks for sharing. That's great. Thank you for sharing, Melissa. That's wonderful. Serendipity for sure, Courtney. Okay, so we are going to give away two digital downloads. Let's see if I can get this up here. Thank you all for being here, for bearing with my hot mess of a. It's always a hot mess, but that's what makes gratefully living the chronic life a thing. That's why I do live, and I would like to say that I plan it, but I absolutely do not. But that's what makes me me. All right, so hashtag gratitude. Let's go. Good luck, everybody. First winner is Melissa. Speak of the devil, crisis counselor. Thank you, Melissa. If you could private message me your email address. Is that the way we were going to do it, Lacy?
There's different ways we can do it, so we'll get it to you.
Yeah. Why don't you private message me, Melissa, your email address, and I will get it to Lacy for you. Congratulations, and let's do another one. The only problem with this giveaway tool is it doesn't take away the person that already won. So sometimes I've had the same 3 people win in a row. But let's see. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Second winner is Robin Davis. Awesome. Fantastic. Congratulations, everybody. And thank you, Lacy, for offering that you guys will not be disappointed. Lavender Dreams and Lavender Destinations. If you go on Lacy's website, which I've put up multiple times and it's in the show notes too, but let me just put it up one more time. Here it is. arttherapist.blogspot.com is her website, and then her Facebook page, lacy.mucklow.art.therapy, is great, and I think it already is in the show notes too. So you can reach Lacy there, and if you do own any of her coloring books, she does, as she mentioned, she has a group for those that own her coloring books. I highly recommend them. They are great, even for somebody like me who did not like the coloring thing. She has converted me. So thank you so much for being here again, and for being my first guest of I'm not even used to saying the year. It's 2023. Thank you for being my first guest, and my first guest back over my unplanned hiatus from the broadcast. You really are amazing, and you do a lot of good for people in helping to find, life is so difficult, no matter what our pain is from and struggles. And you really offer so many things to help us. So I thank you for doing what you do. And I honor you for going for your PhD and looking to further help us. I hope you guys buy her books and check out her website, listen to her breath breaks, and please do the breath breaks, not even just Lacy's, but when I post them at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time daily. They're always short. I pre-screen them all. I am picky, but I promise you, if you just take a moment to practice the pause, even if it's 30 seconds, even if it's 1 minute, you will thank yourself later, because it really just is astounding at how much we find ourselves tensed, our shoulders tensed, our jaw clenched, and we're not breathing deeply. It really will help you all so much. So on that note, Lacy Mucklow, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me again. It was great to be back.
Awesome having you. And those of you watching live, thank you for contributing to this live broadcast. And those of you who are my mom, thank you for all you do, Lacy. Oh, that's a good way to end, with my mom. Thanks for watching, Mom. So cute. I will see you all next week, where it will be our AOG 8th anniversary party. Can't believe it, but it's true. 8th anniversary. And I will see you next time. Oop, wrong camera. Peace and love. Get your gratitude on and speak fluent gratitude. Take care, gang. Let's see if I can get the closing. Where's my closing? Here it is. All right. Bye, gang.